This is an interview with Mrs. Mildred E. Sims by Sheila Sweeney on January 20th, 1981. The topic of the interview is Miss Caroline Rose Foster, and the location of the interview is the Joint Free Public Library of Morristown and Morris Township.
These are personal glimpses. My husband, the late Dr. Robert Sims, was the New Jersey State supervising veterinarian, and Miss Foster's brown Swiss herd came under his supervision. For 17 years we lived close by in Burnham Park. Many times in the evening there would be lengthy phone conversations between Miss Foster and my hubby about the farm and the animals and the crops and also the farm health. When Miss Foster discovered I came from a very active Morris County political family, our views about political candidates became at times argumentative. Taxes, another issue. I recall a Morris Township committee meeting at which Miss Foster spoke of her tax bill and how it took half of her income to pay her taxes, which she thought too high. A young committee member said to her if she didn't like it, to sell and move out. She was truly hurt. As her eyesight failed, her driving became limited, and since I lived nearby, I would pick her up and take her to the various meetings. Eventually, my husband and I desired to build a larger house and asked if we couldn't purchase an acreage off Picatinny Road from her. No luck there, but she told us they were selling the Cross estate. We did buy the garden section of that estate. We spoke of her property and what would become of it after she passed away. She was dead set against any development, hated to see the countryside broken up into bits and pieces. As we all know, the final solution was to leave it to the Morris County Park Commission as a working and living farm so the children of tomorrow would know what a working farm looked like. And when in later years I had to tear down the old barn on my family's farm in Boonton Township, I wondered what to do with the old farm machinery, tools, and implements. She quickly said, give them to the Park Commission, because someday there will be a museum built on her property, housing these old farm utensils. And believe me, there are some real old articles, as my family farm property goes back to 1839. I always liked listening to any of her escapades in her younger years. She told me of staying out too late one night and her father sitting on the front stairs awaiting her return. She sneaked in the side door and up the back stairs and got into bed with her clothes on. I asked if her father hadn't questioned her when she returned, and she said he was too surprised to see her, supposedly asleep in bed, to speak of it. She, if she wasn't too busy socially, would drive the horse and rig to the railroad station to meet her father's train in the evening. She tried to reach the station early, before the grooms would arrive to pick up their masters, and she would take one of their privileged waiting places. How she smiled when she told that tale. I asked about the huge collection of Currier and Ives prints and where she acquired them. She said she attended numerous auctions in New York City and relished the overbidding on the men. We all belonged to the Home Economics Club in Washington Valley and would take turns having the group in our home. When it was Miss Foster's turn, she insisted I be there and take charge. It was quite something. She would go to the bank and bring back from the vault that beautiful old family silver tea set. All the silver used that day was shining bright, polished to the nth degree. She had the dearest, most old faithful housekeeper, Mildred, One day when I dropped in, Maylie and Miss Foster were in a dither. Maylie had lost the stove plate lifter. There's a huge old cook stove in the kitchen, and Maylie always preferred using it to the electric stove. But the lifter had disappeared. I joined in the search, and at last I said, "It must be in the stove." "Oh, that's impossible," they both said. Sure enough, Maylie had crumpled up some newspapers to start the fire and had included the lifter in the newspapers. Much to my surprise, my apparently healthy husband became ill. An operation following it was discovered it was malignant. He decided that he would regain his health if we moved to California. Talking with Dr. Ward about it, he told me I had no choice but to make him comfortable and happy, as his days were numbered. We sold our house, and before leaving, went to say goodbye to Miss Foster. I had never seen Miss Foster shed a tear, but when she took my husband's hand, the tears rolled down her cheeks. We all loved living in Carmel, California, and hubby died. But it wasn't home, and when my daughter Nancy desired to come back to Cornell and finish, we came back east. Of course, I came to see Miss Foster, and sitting there chatting with her, she said she had to tell me something, and that something was that she loved my husband dearly, had never loved anyone as much. I was quite shocked. Then she said I knew how to sew, and would I please make her some clothes? She had nothing to wear. I said I wasn't a seamstress, nor a tailor, but I'd try, and try I did. Miss Foster never wore a bra, nor a girdle. She didn't have a waistline, and because she rode side saddle, one hip was 1.5 inches higher than the other. That first skirt looked as if an amateur had butchered the material. I then made a muslin pattern to fit her oddities, and about mastered all of the problems except the jackets of her suit. She insisted on outdated styles, double-breasted and, of course, fastened as a man's jacket. And oh, that collar had to lay just so. There were times I almost threw the articles I was making on the floor and walked out. Then she would insist on my altering old, out-of-style skirts. So old, the material would fall apart. At least once a month, she would be invited to Miss Matilda Frelinghuysen's for dinner. And since Matilda always dressed for dinner, Miss Foster wore a long black skirt and a dinner-style tuxedo. She insisted I repair the lapels and cuffs of satin on the jacket. No new material, just tuck in the frayed edges. When I returned with the jacket, she asked how I liked those fancy buttons she had wired together to fasten the jacket. I just took for granted they were rhinestone buttons, but no, they were paused diamond cufflinks set in arms. Phew, I had nonchalantly just carried that jacket back and forth. And since her passing, I can't help wonder if the executives, gave that jacket with the diamond-studded buttons to the Goodwill Industries. Now I have to inject a little cutie in here. I do have to add this bit of cuteness. Parsons Todd, he was the former mayor, was leaving as I drove up one day, and when I sat down to chat, I asked Miss Foster why she never married Parsons. "Well, Mildred, the answer is simple. He never asked me." After attending a Morristown Women's Club meeting, I dropped by to see how she was feeling. She could tell I was angry and wanted to know why. I said there had been a discussion of the high taxes on the clubhouse, and we couldn't do a thing about it. "Oh, yes, you can," said Miss Foster. Just collect some of your officers and members and we'll have a meeting here and discuss it. Mary Chalfant, Virginia Huss, Natalie Kleinfeld, Frederica Neal, and yours truly. It so happened it was the day of Miss Foster's 90th birthday, so Mary made a cake. Barbara Hoskins came in, and with her suggestions, we started the ball rolling on placing the Women's Clubhouse on the historical list. And thanks to Miss Foster, it came about. She did many wonderful helping things. And in some respect, causing a few to dislike her. I still follow her advice, which is, if you know it's right, fight for it. Now what do you want to know? Mention I think it was when they dedicated the CNI new building that's right behind her property. Did anyone mention that?
No.
All right, she got quite a thrill this particular time. She was invited to go to that. Naturally, it was the Kemy's property that the CNI built on. That's Kemey.
Okay.
And it joined her property in the back. And so she was invited. I think it was the dedication. Well, someplace you'll find out how to prove that.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Nixon was to come, and she did. And she sat down alongside of Miss Foster, had quite a conversation with her, and insisted the photographers take a picture of the two of them together. Now, somebody must have that picture.
I don't think I've ever seen a picture.
She just really shot it.
She had it herself?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Mrs. Patterson had it. Isn't that something?
She just loved that. She just loved it. She said, I don't care too much for Mrs. Nixon's husband. She didn't say, of course, her ex-husband. But she said she's adorable. Considerate. She said understanding woman. She thoroughly enjoyed meeting her. There were sometimes sometimes she could really embarrass you.
Oh, really?
Yes, because she was so outspoken that you just didn't know, what she might come out with.
Yeah.
It was really, but I loved her. It was okay. And she'd call you. Well, over time, sometimes we have to ask you later at night. She never cared about time and place. She just wanted to talk about something or know about something. Oh, dear, you never saw the trials and tribulations I had trying to sell them.
Oh, really?
Well, you can imagine, honey, if no one ever wearing a bra. Oh, the shock I got when I started to measure her. And her bosoms went down into her waistline. See, that's the reason. There wasn't any waistline.
Yeah.
And then, of course, since she never wore a girdle, this first skirt, I held it up when I finished sewing, hoping it was all right. Well, now, without exaggeration, it looked as if the waistline was about that wide. That's folded together. And then you looked at the bottom, and it went like this. It's because this one hip, you see, was so much higher than the other. But she gets so close. That's when I almost threw things on the floor and walked out. Because wearing these men's type jackets, you see, I mean, I'm not sure. There's something about a men's jacket must lie, I don't know which word is correct, just below the collar line or something. She always wore a men's shirt, with a bow tie and things. Well, honey, I just didn't know how to fit one of those things, and then she being so odd in shape and what have you. and things. And, well, a couple of times I pulled a fast one on her. It's not nice to say. But I just couldn't get some of those jackets to fit correctly up there where she wanted it so particularly right. And so I take it home and bring it back. I hadn't even touched it. Now I bring it into now. Well, now that's more like it. She say I never touched it. Oh, I tell you, she was a humbug. Oh. And then to find material. See, she couldn't see. And so I had access through some friends of mine to a wholesale place in Philly. And we'd gone down this particular day, and I said, oh, I've got to find some material for Miss Foster. But of course, being a wholesale place, I couldn't bring back samples. I either had to buy it or not. Well, they had this beautiful piece of English wool. And I bought it. And I brought it to her. And I said, all right, I have to buy it. I said I couldn't get a sample. If you don't like it, I'll make a suit for myself eventually or do something with it. Oh, she says, that's so nice and soft. Pure wool. And it wasn't heavy, it was a nice texture. And so I made that suit, and she wore that suit more than anything else. She said, this is my favorite suit I've ever made. And then I hesitated so, because it wasn't, even at wholesale prices, it wasn't cheap. And the material. Another time I saw her anger go right to the ceiling was the farmer. Did you interview the farmer?
Mr. Beach. Yes, I did.
I don't know whether you gather it or not. He doesn't always tell the truth. But anyway.
Okay.
First, I think at least 2 or 3 years, most of her animals had died. But this one cow, did Earl tell you about it?
No, he never mentioned.
Well, all right. And the cow, if I remember correctly, was something like 23 years old. Now that is beyond a cow's producing. And so he didn't tell her the cow died. And he went someplace and bought the milk and the cream that she always took up to the place every day for her use and whatnot. They never sent anything to her. One day she finds out that the cow was dead. I think somebody told her. And when I went in, she was still I don't really think she was mad. Because he lied to her. It had gone on for 2 years. And he told her. See, she wasn't well enough to go down to the barn. She couldn't see anyway.
Yeah.
And so, the cow had been dead for 2 years, and he'd been buying this milk and cream. Oh, she was cross. Oh, dear. And I said, well, don't take it out on Earl, Miss Foster. After all, I said, he was trying to save your feelings. Well, she said, I've always contended it's better to tell the truth. Yes, I know, but I said he just thought he was doing all kinds. But that day I went in and they had lost the stove lifter. Now, you know what I mean by stove lifter?
No, I don't.
Well, an old-fashioned cook stove has lids, that fit in. There's a groove that the lid will fit in. All right. Then on that particular lid is what you call it, a little niche. And you have this metal lifter that has a spoon type thing. But anyway, you fit underneath that niche in there, and you lift up the lid so you put more wood in or coal, whatever you use. At this particular day, they were looking all over for that. They couldn't find that lid. Oh, it was something. And Mary, oh, bless her heart, she was a sweet one.
Was she?
She was Swiss, or younger girl. And Mary was very, very thrifty. And Mary put in a long day. She was up at 6 o'clock, and sometimes she'd still be working in the kitchen at 10 at night and things. And But Mary sometimes was a little too specific. One day I went in and I said, Mary, oh, I know, you've got David's coat of many colors. She said, no, that dress, I'm going to call it David's coat of many colors. She said, what are you talking about? Well, I said, if I remember correctly, it's a story in the Bible about David and his coat of many colors. And I said, that dress is of many colors. She had patched that dress with so many different colors and pieces of material that you couldn't find the original dress. That's how thrifty she was. And yeah, when she died, she had quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Well, I never could go in there. First thing that Mary said, she always called me Mrs. Dr. Sims.
Mrs. Dr. Sims.
Well, I think that's the European way of designating a doctor's wife or something.
Oh, I see.
I think so, too. And, she said, all right, you want tea? And I said, I don't have to have any. I'll just have to get tea. And she didn't have any cake. Then she always had to make me toast. And I didn't need to eat, but you know, she was just that kind.
Yeah.
Oh, delicious. And then I would read to Miss Foster something. Mm-hmm. Did anybody tell you about the police coming about the dried things in the cellar?
Yeah, Mrs. Black mentioned something about that.
I think that's the funniest thing. They came to repair the boiler, the stove, the furnace. And here are all of these dried things hanging from the ceiling down in the cellar. Well, I think the repairman didn't know what to do about it. It was a case of, well, what are they, and should I report it? Mm-hmm. But he did report it. Should even say, I think anyway, he reported to the police. They were dried herbs.
What did Miss Foster say about that?
I don't think I ever discussed it with her after it happened. I don't remember that I did. Mm-hmm. But that was funny. You can imagine a person reacting like that.
Yeah, I guess in those times, especially.
And then, especially with this marijuana business.
Yeah.
Makes me think of an incident back home. When I went back and built a little house on the farm. That's when I had to tear the barn down. And going through the barnyard one day, what's that? And here's marijuana. Well, I did away with it right away. Mm-hmm. I didn't report it because I thought, if I tell the police, they will say, oh, she's growing marijuana, what are you doing, and how long you been doing it, and so on. So I thought, get rid of it, say nothing. Yeah. But I don't do anything. But see, the place was taking so long, and the barn was away from the house where Brother lived. And, oh, what a surprise. I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I don't think the township police over there know to this day that somebody planted marijuana in that barn. It was a beautiful place to grow it. Nobody bothered it. Go in at night and have a grand time collecting it. What else do you want to know, honey?
What about her farm?
In what respect?
What kind of a farmer was she?
Oh, that's what she used to ask hubby about. Of course, I mean, he was a veterinarian. He wasn't a farmer. An agricultural consultant. But anyway, he used to help her out. No, she did have, I would consider, quite a farm. And she did rotate her crop. And, I don't know. But of course, things got the better. There was just too much. Because when Earl came there, let's see, I guess he was at Tennessee Field, I think, or something like that. Then, of course, he was taking over so many things in the house. I don't know what he would have done. See, Mary had died. And he was getting the meals and doing the marketing and cleaning and everything, plus doing the farm work, and it got too much. Yeah.
But the farm was really important to her.
Yes. Not that she needed it to make it her food. She had a tremendous vegetable garden. I remember once stopping there, and she said, I guess they did. She said, we've frozen enough lima beans. She said, do you want some? I said, I love lima beans. I came home with a bushel bag. And,
Yeah.
there was another incident. I think of the other day. This is before your time. Oh, during World War II, we were on ration, and you couldn't get, or you could have gotten the coupons to get butter and things. Well, that husband of mine wouldn't eat substitute margarine. Nothing doing. And I said one day in his poster, I said, it makes me cross. Why? I have to part with so many coupons just for butter for him, I said. I can eat the margarine, it doesn't hurt. She says, do you want butter? And I said, yes. Well, she says, mail returns every week, she said. She said, stop in, she said, until you want a pound? I said, yeah, just for hubby. And she said, okay. And I said, oh, Miss Foster, do you put salt in it? No, she said, I like sweet butter. I said, well, have Nellie put a little salt in it, will you? So every week, I went in on a Friday and picked up that pound of butter, but I paid for it.
Oh, did you?
Oh, she's not expensive.
No.
No. That's the thing you can't get over. I mean, considering her wealth. Now, and I think, too, that might have a tendency to make people dislike her because she was so wealthy and she was not too generous with the money part, although she gave to everything, which can think of any charity.
Did she?
Oh, yes.
While she was living?
Yes. I never knew any amounts or anything, but I knew that. But when it came, I know. Then after that, Social Security, and then since she never worked and her father, which didn't collect from her father, the government, honey, sent you if you were over a workable age, over 65, a check. Now, I don't recall all of the incidents regarding it, but I think with taking out something for Medicare or something, I think her check every month that she got from the government free of charge was $33. And I teased her. I used to tease her. And I'd say, now what do you do with $33? She says, I take my friends out for lunch. Oh, another thing that you'll never, she never carried a pocketbook.
Oh, no? Was that too feminine?
I don't know why or anything. But if she wanted any money, it was in her jacket pocket. And there were many times, I mean, if something needed repairing in a jacket and I took it home, I might find some money in it. I think, I want to tell you another thing about a jacket. One day she said, I need a summer jacket. And I said, well, what do you want? Seersucker or what? And she said, no. Oh, I said, Miss Foster, I don't know whether we can make it fit you, but I said, that son of mine has a plaid madras, this is what you call it, summer jacket. And it was supposed to be longer, which he did, but it shrunk. And my son's 6 foot, long arms and so on. And so she says, well, if he can't wear it, bring it down. I took that jacket, honey. I had to shorten the sleeves, and I had to shorten the length. I had to move the pockets up a bit. But do you know she wore that jacket till it was threadbare? Now, that's another case of her being, was it stingy? I never could figure out how to pass that. Was it being stingy to take that jacket? I mean, there was no money involved. It was given, someone gave it to her. But I just wonder if she could have bought that jacket. And things, but you still. So those are the things that are hard to understand. Then one day I went in and they were cleaning the butler's peanut. And I never saw such beautiful, exquisite stem up on the top shelf. No, the ceilings I think in the house are 12 feet. And these were packed, or rather, up on the top shelf. And does it run out? And I said, oh, exquisite crystal. Why don't you use it? Oh, she says it's too fragile. Oh, those are the things you just don't understand. Oh, another thing if you want to classify as being stingy. And then she says, come on upstairs. I said, what's the matter? She said, the bed's spread out on my bed, she said. It needs fixing. Okay, so we looked at. And I said, oh, Miss Foster, buy another one. Oh, no, she said, you can mend it. To mend this old bedspread. It was a woven thing. It was very pretty in its day.
Yeah.
But if you know, you would have thrown it out, and I would have too.
Yeah.
But so I had to remember that bedspread. I took that home. But to this day, I think about those diamonds.
Wondering.
I mean, it never, because I think it was the crude way she had put them together, just wired them, see. And you know what maybe you don't remember tuxedos are button now, but they used to have a buttonhole on either side, and then you put the two, you know, the button, you know, would go through and there would be a button on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Well, that's what she did, see, to this cotton. And wired those together. And it was, you know, a miserable looking job of being wired together, and I never gave it a second thought. And then when I took the jacket back, and she said, I like those fancy buttons. Now, I would guess at this, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised if those diamonds were carried. Jacket on. And I wonder, of course, I mean, I met Mrs. Ford, and of course I met Gene Patterson, but I've never had any conversations with him with the distribution of her estate or anything like that.
It might be that they mentioned in the will.
It might be if they were still around. I need to go to the nurses.
Oh, really?
I think things walked away from that place so fast. Oh, I'm sure I got them. They were precious things there. Of course, she always wore her diamonds. I don't know if anybody ever say she had one little pinky ring, had 3 beautiful diamonds in it. And she always wore it regardless, all the time she was sick and everything. On the other hand, she wore a signet ring. Whether she had any necklaces or anything like that, I have no recollection of anything like that. But I guess she must have been something when she was growing up. And I often said to her, well, did you travel a lot? She said, Pa wanted to travel. Those call him Pa. But she said, I got seasick. And she said, and then I would have a terrible time eating food. And, you know, foreign food. And so she said, I didn't relish traveling to foreign countries, although they did quite a bit of traveling.
Yeah. I think they should say.
Yeah. Oh, I'm telling you. I think, what was I started to read the article that being black, they went fishing. Oh, she loved to fish. And when her eyesight was okay, she was a good shot.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, now, what else do you want to know?
Well-
Because I'm taking too much of your time.
No, you're not. This is great. What were her favorite materials? What materials did you make her suits out
Oh, they all have to be wool. Very conservative. Nothing gay. You know, I did make her 2 seersucker suits for the summertime. One was, a navy blue stripe, or a blue stripe, we'll say, and the other one was a brown. And, but the suits, well, the first suit I made was, what do you call it? It was wool. It was real black. It's got a name, I can't think of it. That's what you do when you get older. Isn't that funny? Well, that was the first one. And then, of course, I think the second suit was the one of the material I bought down in Philly. And then I made a gray one. And then I made numerous skirts for it. And of course, I had to alter pajamas all the time. She always bought men's pajamas.
Men's?
She always wore men's shirts, too. And pajamas would always seem to fall off of her shoulders, so I always had to fix those. And then, what was it? One day she said, I want you to make me a bathrobe. And I said, okay. And so I remember buying the wool, and that suited her, and so on and so forth. And when I had just about finished it, stupidly, because she wore her suit jackets and everything else buttoned as a man buttons his, I did the robe that way. She was very annoyed. And I said, Miss Foster, I never gave a second thought. Everything else I said is fastened as a man's jacket. And I said, I just figured that she'd want the robe done. She didn't like that. No. There was, I didn't ask, and I just took for granted.
Yeah.
But that's what she wanted. And as I say, there were times that I could have thrown whatever I was doing on the floor and walked out.
Why do you think she dressed the way she did? Did she ever tell you why? Did you ever ask her why?
She didn't like frilly things.
Oh, she didn't.
No. And I think the reason she started to dress like that is she was growing up. Well, the aunt that brought her up always had her in dresses when she was little. But I think after the aunt died and things, and it was just she and her father, because he was a sportsman, I think it was better to wear, you know, the men's type things. Now I'm guessing this. I think that's the reason. But she wouldn't. And I used to say to her when I had such a terrible time fitting her, Miss Foster, if you just wear a dress, I could do lots with it, you know. But no, she wouldn't. And I did see her once or twice when I first knew her in some men's trousers when she was out working around on the farm, thinking she was helping. We used to hire helpers to say she's more nuisance. Yeah. Did anybody tell you about Bambi?
The deer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
They mentioned that she had a pet deer.
Well, Earl found it along the road and brought it home. And this when he inquired, you know, for what did he give it to? Somebody else, not the Humane Society, who could give it to bring up. Well, anyway, they said, well, can't you keep it on the farm? We'll give you permission. They have to have permission. And which they did, see. And so, oh, what a pet. That Bambi would come right up to you and eat from your hand. And all you had to do was call, and Bambi would arrive from someplace. But then I guess it was the next year, Bambi disappeared. I think somebody shot it.
Yeah.
So, honey, I don't know the reason. I'm only guessing at that, but I think because of being brought up by her father and doing the things they did together. and then riding. And of course they had horses.
Did she ride horses a lot?
Yes, she rode horseback an awful lot. Well, I mean, when they rode horseback,
Right.
you know, when they didn't have cars,
Mm-hmm.
she did. Side saddle.
Mm-hmm.
I think I saw that side saddle. Where was it? Down the barn? I don't know. No. I think she took the attitude, especially when she got such a kick out of parking at the railroad station. She enjoyed her thoroughly getting better with those rich people.
Mm-hmm.
I think those were the things that she got pleasure from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she meant it in a nasty way.
No.
I still miss her. And you know, there were a lot of times, well, of course, I think everybody knew, I mean, how she fell off the porch that night.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody tell you how she crawled in there by herself?
No.
She went out before she went to bed on the porch. Now, there was no retaining railing around the porch.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk right off of it. There was a drop about, 2 feet. So, every night before she went to bed, she went out on the porch. Of course, maybe she could see the stars and things. I don't know. Sometimes I used to think it's just kidness that you can't see.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't miss very much. But just to test the weather, every day she kept a weather chart. She always wrote down what kind of weather it was. And at night, before she went to bed, she went out to see if it was raining or what happened, and so on and so forth. And she turned, and she thought she was going in the right direction, and she fell from that porch. Now, the help she had at that time wasn't there. Who was the help? I don't remember. Mary was there. Oh, it must have been Clarina. And she was black, and I can't remember clothes. You know why? Because she had, you know how the pigments of your skin will get light in some places.
Mm-hmm.
But Clarina's pigment was quite light in spots, and that's the reason. And I said to Miss Foster one day, I said, someday it's coming out, I'm going to call her Clorox to her face. She says, don't you dare now. I said, I have to. Well, that's beside the story. So she came in the morning and went home at night. She stayed something. Wasn't anybody in that one. This is good night. Let's say 10:30 or 11. She crawled on her hands and knees around the steps, up the steps, in the house, and reached the telephone in the sitting room and called the doctor. I'm telling you, you just wonder the stamina of that woman.
And this is the last time she fell?
No, this was the first time. First time. Then after that, she had no. She wrote me for me. But, I don't know. Could you do a thing like that with a broken? Well, she broke the leg and the ankle, I think, down in here. Imagine going on your hands and knees, can't see or practically blind, and doing that.
Maybe something like
Sure. Well, she was a marvelous person. What else? Come on.
Well, what did she say about her father? Did she have a lot of stories about him?
Other than the story of, well, they went fishing and hunting together, and the story of getting the better of her father when she stayed out too late.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she thought that was so. I said, well, did you manage to get up and get your clothes off eventually? Oh, yes, but she had to make sure I heard him snoring. Oh, she thought that was something. She had an elevator put in the house, you know.
No.
Yeah, after she broke her foot. So, And then she couldn't get up and down stairs, see? And there were no bathroom facilities in that old house downstairs. And so she had, and her back stairs. So she had one of those elevators that run on a track to go up the back stairs. So that's how she got up and down all the time, which was a pleasure.
Yeah.
So, but the father, no, other than that particular story, and I can't think.
Do you think when she was young,
Sure.
that she was a feminist? Was she for women's rights? Or?
Well, honey, that's hard to say. She always wanted. I would say she always, talked as if everything should be equal. I don't. Well, I don't think this business of women's rights, was so prominent before she died, was it?
No. That's why I was wondering, because the feminism really didn't become popular until later.
Well,
she would have been really old.
Yeah, and I don't think, she even gave it second thought, other than listening to things on the, she couldn't watch television, she couldn't see. Oh, another thing, she was very, very music friendly.
No.
Oh, she had, I wonder what happened to some wonderful old records. Oh, in the office. And she, I went in one day and we spent, who was it that always put on that Saturday afternoon program of the opera? Texaco. Wasn't it Texaco? And I can remember sitting there and we sat through the whole business. And then we had a big discussion over it. And how we appreciated it and so on and so forth. And she knew her office too. Now whether she ever went to New York Theater, I don't know. I never asked. But she probably did. In her younger days. She used to dance and party. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
And then, did anybody say anything about the cottage?
That she built?
Yeah. Do you know why she built it?
No.
Because her father didn't want her to have all this company and entertainment and all hours of the night and so on and so forth. So she built that cottage, dear. Absolutely.
Did she tell you about it? Did she talk about it?
Yeah. And, I've been in and out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then at last in the last years, they had to board it up because, oh gosh, that animal got in there and chewed up. And then on top of that, she did have some beautiful antiques down in that cottage too. And they chewed the legs and I don't know what all. It was pathetic. So, it was a cute little building. She didn't have a fireplace. And then she put the roof on, she did everything. Well, of course, she did that in her younger days. She could sing. And the only time she wasn't home, when I went there, and Maylie said, "Oh, she's down at the barns." Well, I look out, and here she is coming up driving the car. First, she could hardly see. And it was funny, she couldn't look through the windshield. Now, I don't understand her eye condition. But anyway, she always had to drive with her head out. I don't know, could have been some kind of vision from the side.
Yeah, I think.
Was that what it would be?
There is a condition. You only have peripheral vision.
I think maybe that's it. Because as she came up the driveway, she was driving with her head, and it was kind of chilly, I remember. And when we was down, she had her head out of the car. Oh, no. No, she was a humdinger.
Another question. Who made her clothes before you?
Wait a minute. The tailor in town. Let me think of his name. Come on, sweetie. We're finished. I should be on my way. Look out. You'll
I
be
guess
having
the
a broken
interview's
leg.
over, huh?
I know where his place was. Now, wait a minute, let me think. Tartaglia, the tailor. And he was out on Speedway Avenue. And so when the day she asked me to make her some clothes because she didn't have anything to wear, I said, well, what's the matter with the tailor? Well, she says, he's disgusted with me. Well, I suppose, you know, she was getting so hard to fit. And the poor guy couldn't do it. I don't know. But that's what I surmised. I don't know. So, okay.
One more question. Did she ever talk about having boyfriends when she was young?
Mm-hmm.
Did
Yeah.
she?
Yeah. And, I have no recollection of what his social connection was or anything, but I know his last name was Jones, that she talked about him several times. But that, further than that, honey, I don't know much
You
about
don't
it.
know?
But, no, but she did. But can you imagine the nerve of me asking her why she didn't marry Parsons' child?
Well, her answer was pretty good.
Well, it was the truth. And you know, they always had a feud between them. Whether one was 6 months older than the other. They were about the same age, but I think Parsons was 6 months older than she was. Oh, he was a character.
Yeah.
Oh, so, well, I did go to all the birthday parties, even the last one I had for her. Bless her heart, but she didn't know what really was what was going on. Well, honey, when you get over 100, if I'm slipping at almost 76, what do you suppose you do at 100?
That's true.
So, oh.
Okay.
And don't forget to find out how you spell 90th.
Okay.
And do you say argumentative?
I think that's correct. Argumentative. Okay.
So that's